I would like to thank you. Alata Marcosian, I represent the company Onetrust, where I deal with the pre-sales service. We have technical needs, and what I wanted to tell you today is to introduce you to the different trends on the market in order to automate the InfoSec programs. Therefore, I will focus on Onetrust calls the trust intelligence. Sorry about the English words I might use in my presentation. So it is called trust intelligence based on trust in order to govern and a management of your risk. Focus here you have to understand is that when you try and have so what are the means at our disposal and the how these means will be used to close the gap between a true GRC program and the execution within a company. Let's bear in mind this sentence because what I want to tell you is about this. Within a company, there are several triggers within this program. The first one is the content, very often linked to a regulatory framework, norms, standards that we have to abide by. Then there is the capacity of a company. Does it comply with this regulatory framework? Then there is the integration, i.e. the technological stack of your company, and understand how it is related to your capacity and content. And the final point is this, the direction you give, i.e. the strategy of a GRC program. Today, some companies in terms of integration are focused on the user. They are going to follow up on the regulatory framework that will have the capacity to understand what is the maturity of its information system to meet these, to comply with the regulatory framework. In terms of integration, we're going to ask technical services to know whether we have the right applications to integrate the systems, and the users will be a major focus in relation to orientation and strategy. All these information will help you have visibility and have an automated approach to meet these needs. The added value of Onetrust in this framework is to be able to organize all this, organizing trust through our platform to fill the gaps, because sometimes information works in silo or communication does not work properly between technicians and legal people, and to put in place in one platform all the contents, so the experience of compliance and the business context in relation to this legal compliance, everything explained with regard to the capacity of the company. Through this platform, we will be able to set up a management program to organize this trust on the platform. What do we call a management program? Well, is translating the objectives of the company in on the platform, the action plans, and the gaps in terms of capacities in order to fill them and to reach a maturity. We will talk about the different stages of maturity that exist. Afterwards, we will try and set up prospects and reports in this management program. Everything I just explained is related to the visibility of this management program. At the end of this chain, you have the action. Action is the involvement you have with your company and your customers. It's an integrated communication. When you have a platform that groups these 4 pillars, well, information is then integrated. Content, capacity, and integration of the programs will then be able to communicate, convey the necessary information so that everyone can evolve. The interfaces are intuitive. It is very important because you address both in terms of content. You may have users who are legal people, so less technical people. So the user-friendly aspect is really important so that they be true players in this framework. It is important to make sure they abide by all this. Then some leaders will be identified for the 4 pillars in order to facilitate the whole communication and integration of the tool. Of course, what I just described is that through these organizations, decisions will be taken to manage the risk and steer the risk and mitigate the risk through the trust intelligence platform. I mentioned a maturity scale. It is important in a company to understand where they are in such a maturity scale. In my presentation, I based myself on these documents related to automation and maturity. There are 5 pillars, 5 stages that are related before you can reach automation. First, it's ad hoc. It's companies where the follow-up is manual with Excel spreadsheets to manage risk, or the idea, for instance, that I want to have the project of a certification, be it ISO or SOC. Well, I will be able to do it in a ad hoc manner. That's the first level. That's a low level of maturity. Then a defined stage where in the company a definition and structure preparation exist in the framework of projects. Then management, where the maturity is a little higher. The idea here is that the idea is to reach optimization. Nevertheless, despite all these stages, at each stage you have actions you have to lead to go to the higher stage. When you are at the first stage, there is a work to be done in terms of programs to initiate automation. Many processes are manual, and then up to the optimization stage, some automations do exist. And the final stage is that of a standardized automation. Through I just explained in the different maturity stages, it is important to define what are the key sectors that will help us automate things. Companies may be mature in their strategies, but the execution may sometimes be problematic and never go beyond a low maturity stage. You will see that it is related to the 4 pillars that I presented to begin with. First is the regulatory framework. It is very important for a company to define in which legal framework they want to be automated. Of course, according to the type of company and customers they have, regulations will vary. Second, integration of data in a digital transformation. Any company has a data management that may be different. The more they master data management, the simpler the automation will be. In relation to the integration of data, the mapping of risk and data is what we will suggest with Onetrust. So besides the GRC automation, there's also an automation of data and a mapping of data. This is very important to understand what are the different interconnections related to risks, operation, data that will circulate between these different technological stacks that will facilitate automation. It is an important element in an information system and in such architecture to master your risk mapping and monitoring in order to accelerate to reach more easily the next stage. Last 2 items, especially the last one, is related to the implementation of the solution and the risk of the workflow. The idea here is to check that all the processes that you have put in place, what we call a workflow, is well mastered and that processes are set up. You have to remember that these 5 fields are extremely important to reach a good automation and to go up, to climb the scale of automation in the framework of a GRC program. If we come back on the first slide, when I told you, when we talked about the pillars, well, security, once you have made sure security, well, you are ready to manage risks and audit. It's the first thing is to master and to prioritize this stack related to the content. Second is to assess the capacity of the company. They may have shortcomings in relation to their content, so it is important to make such assessment. It is also important to have a communication on all the possible integrations in a company. Here, through our platform, we set up 500 connectors in our solution so that you have a better connection of your third tools through API. So 500 connectors that will help you integrate your information system better. And the orientation aspect is to centralize in order for the automation to be mature. Of course, Once we optimize maturity, it is very simple to see what could be the advantages you can get from such an automation. Well, the efficiency of your security teams. They have only one contact point to that platform. They manage all the IT risks, the third-party related risks. The idea is also to avoid any surprise effect you may have in the evolution system, and the result of a risk that wouldn't be measured, and all these controls will help the company to evolve according to the compliance and the risk they meet. You have to know, and I repeat it once again, the different standards and regulations evolve because technology is constantly evolving. AI is an example of it. We always catching up with this gap. So this platform will show you your shortcomings and your risks, but it is much simpler to do it in a centralized way.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. If you have any questions, we are on C6. Do not hesitate to come. We will be happy to do a demonstration or stand on AI. Typically, we have an interesting demo to show you all the details and of our solution. If you have a certification ISO programs or handling risk control or third parties risks, do not hesitate to come and meet us at our stand, and we'll be happy to and glad to do a demonstration. Thank you very much.